Once upon a time, deep within the Saudi Arabian desert, where towering dunes met the unending horizon, there existed a place known only as the Cursed Land. The nomadic tribes who roamed these sands whispered tales of this desolate expanse, warning all who heard to steer clear after sunset. For it was said that once the sun dipped below the dunes, the Cursed Land claimed any soul foolish enough to linger there. But these stories were just tales, or so thought Faisal, a young Bedouin guide known for his daring spirit and his skepticism towards the ancient lore of his people. He scoffed at the idea of a cursed land and reveled in the thrill of exploring the untamed wilderness, especially a place known as Rub al-Khali, also known as the Empty Quarter. Rub al-Khali was the world's largest contiguous sand desert, an unforgiving expanse that stretched as far as the eye could see. It was a place where the scorching sun beat down mercilessly, where sandstorms could engulf entire caravans, and where survival depended on one's ability to navigate the ever-shifting dunes. One day Faisal received an offer that was too good to refuse. A wealthy sheik from a distant oasis offered him a substantial sum to guide a group of archaeologists through the treacherous sands of Rub al-Khali. The journey was fraught with peril, but Faisal's reputation as a fearless guide was at stake, and he accepted the challenge. His small convoy consisted of several sturdy land cruisers, each loaded with supplies and equipment for the journey. But it was the passengers that concerned Faisal the most. Led by the enigmatic Dr. Evelyn Wright, the group of foreigners seemed determined to push their luck. They were eager to uncover the secrets of the ancient ruins rumored to be hidden in the heart of the Empty Quarter. As the convoy moved deeper into the desert, the landscape became more desolate. The dunes rose higher and the wind grew stronger, whipping around the land cruisers and stinging their occupants' faces with sand. But Faisal pressed on, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of trouble. Yet none of them noticed a single ominous detail. The sun seemed to shine faintly and eerily in the sky. Normally at this time of the day, its presence should have been comforting. However, the unnatural daylight filled them with dread, foreshadowing the nightmare that awaited them. On the seventh day, as the sun began its slow descent, Faisal noticed a change in the wind. It seemed to shift direction, carrying with it an unsettling silence. The air, usually filled with the mournful cry of the desert wind, was unnaturally still. The tourists sensed the gravity of the situation, for in the vast expanse of the desert, such silence was a harbinger of danger. Suddenly, a massive sandstorm erupted in the distance, growing larger by the moment, and right before their eyes, it started racing toward them. Trapped in the heart of the Empty Quarter, Faisal desperately tried to navigate his convoy out of the storm's path, but it was no use. The wind howled like a banshee, whipping sand and dust into a blinding frenzy that engulfed the land cruisers. When the storm finally subsided, revealing the aftermath, it was as if a giant had swept through the desert. The convoy was buried under a thick layer of sand. Desperation filled Faisal's heart. His reputation, his life, and the lives of his companions were hanging in the balance. As he struggled to free the vehicles from their sandy graves, a sense of foreboding settled over him. The incident with the storm shook them all, and when they finally managed to free their vehicles and continue their journey, they did so in stunned silence. However, the eerie silence was shattered by the sight before them. Right in the middle of the dunes, they found a lone camel, majestic and regal, standing silently. But it was the camel's shadow that truly captivated their attention, or rather, the lack of it. Under the pale sky, the camel cast no shadow, as if defying the laws of nature itself. This bizarre spectacle sent a chill down their spines, a premonition of the horrors that were about to unfold. Suddenly, Dr. Wright recovered from her shock, her tone laced with disbelief and urgency. She addressed Faisal. "We need to leave immediately. This is bad luck. We have to get out of here." But Faisal, though troubled by the omen, knew that turning back now would be equally perilous. The desert's unforgiving nature meant that staying put was as dangerous as moving forward, so they decided to press on. Yet the ordeal with the shadowless camel seemed to have stirred something ancient and evil within the desert itself. The closer they got to the supposed ruins, the more malevolent the desert's presence became. The air grew colder, and the once majestic dunes transformed into menacing giants, reaching out to grab them. Then, just when their spirits were at their lowest, they stumbled upon the remains of an ancient Nabatean temple half buried in the sand. Despite their apprehension, the archaeologists were thrilled with the discovery. Dr. Wright, her voice trembling with excitement, announced, "This is why we came here. This is incredible," but Faisal couldn't share her enthusiasm. The oppressive atmosphere around the temple was palpable, and he felt an overwhelming urge to flee. Nevertheless, the group spent the night near the temple, and as darkness fell, Faisal's worst fears materialized. The night was filled with eerie sounds. The wind moaned through the crumbling stones of the temple, mimicking voices from beyond the grave. Strange shapes danced in the flickering firelight, and the shadows cast by the flames seemed to writhe like tormented souls. Then, as the rest of the group slumbered, Faisal saw it again, the shadowless camel. It stood at the edge of the firelight, its eyes glowing ominously in the darkness, and then it did something that made Faisal's blood run cold. It spoke not with a sound, but with a voice that echoed directly in Faisal's mind. The voice, guttural and ancient, seemed to reverberate from the depths of the earth itself. "You trespass on sacred ground," it boomed, shaking Fazul to his core. "You seek to uncover our past, yet you forget the wisdom of those who came before. Depart now, before it's too late." Faisal's mind reeled from the encounter. The voice echoed in his thoughts, amplifying his growing dread. In the morning, when the others awoke, they saw the camel standing by the temple, still as a statue, but when they approached it, it vanished. Had it been real or just a figment of Faisal's exhausted imagination? Dr. Wright dismissed it as a trick of the light, but Faisal knew in his heart that something sinister was at play. Days turned into weeks as the team continued their exploration. Each passing day brought new discoveries, but also new perils. Equipment malfunctioned, supplies dwindled, and accidents occurred with eerie frequency. The once excited chatter of the archaeologists had been replaced by hushed tones and fearful glances. The desert, it seemed, was making its presence felt. Then one fateful afternoon, disaster struck. While exploring a labyrinth of underground tunnels beneath the temple, Dr. Wright and 2 others disappeared. Panic seized the remaining members of the expedition. They searched desperately, but it was as if the earth had swallowed them whole. Faisal, torn between his duty to guide and his desire to escape the desert's grasp, rallied the others. Together they ventured into the tunnels, a race against time to save their companions. What they found, their defined explanation. The tunnels, moist and alive, teemed with strange fungi that glowed faintly in the darkness, but it was the carvings in the tunnel walls that truly captivated them. Depictions of the camel-like creature. The tunnels seemed to be a testament to the existence of such creatures. And deep within the tunnels, they found a chamber adorned with even more detailed carvings. In the center stood a large altar, and on it lay a collection of strange artifacts, including a small obsidian mirror. As Dr. Wright reached out to examine it, the air crackled with energy and the mirror flared with an otherworldly light. When the light subsided, Dr. Wright was gone, vanished without a trace. Terror gripped Faisal's heart. He realized with a sickening certainty that the desert had claimed another victim. The desert's voice echoed in his mind, mocking, triumphant. "You cannot win against the desert. It will always claim what is rightfully hers. Even your bones will become mine eventually." As days passed, the remaining members of the expedition grew weaker, succumbing to the relentless heat, dwindling water supplies, and the haunting presence of the desert itself. One by one, they began to lose their minds, wandering into the dunes and never returning. Soon Faisal found himself alone, his companions lost to the desert, his sanity hanging in the balance. The finality of it struck him with the force of a physical blow. He was completely alone in the heart of the unforgiving desert, surrounded by the whispers of the dead and the looming presence of the ancient camel-like creature. The desert, it seemed, had claimed him, body and soul. And so the tale of Faisal and the lost expedition serves as a chilling reminder. In the face of nature's grandeur, human ambition and arrogance are but fleeting and fragile things. For the desert, with its endless dunes and silent majesty, has a way of humbling even the most audacious spirits.